All right, what's up, MedSpa friends? Today we are going to talk about something that I find incredibly fascinating. You might not find it as fascinating as I do because I'm a little bit of a nerd with this kind of stuff, but um, the impact is huge. And so, what I'm going to go over in this video today could immediately 2 to 10x your MedSpa's bookings overnight. And that's not an exaggeration, that's actually backed by data. And so, stick around in this video. If you don't know who I am, my name's Josh. I'm the founder of Wellness Leads. I specifically work with med spas to help them book more qualified aesthetic consults. In 2024, I booked nearly 1,000 appointments myself by personally picking up the phone and calling my clients' leads. And so I wanted to share some data today that you cannot refute because the great thing about data is that it is purely numbers. And so you don't have to like the numbers. This is just how it is. So let's dive right into it. So first off, I'm going to put a link in the description to all of the data that I found here and the study that this data comes from. This is actually a study that was published in the Harvard Business Review a couple years ago, and so all credit it goes where it's due. Click that link in the description and do a full read of this as well, because none of this data is mine. I want to be very clear about that. So what they did is they ran a study and they took note of how businesses are following up with their leads. And so when you get a lead from ads or social media or wherever it comes from, doesn't really matter. What's happening next? So how are we calling them? How are we texting them? How are we emailing them? What is the cadence? All that fun stuff. And what they found was pretty shocking, or at least shocking to me. And so, what they found was that first off, email was almost always the most common method for the first response. So, in other words, when somebody gets a new lead, most people are just emailing them and that's it. And the reason for that probably is because email is more comfortable than a lot of the other methods, such as pulling up your phone and texting somebody, or pulling up your phone and actually trying to call them and talk with this human being over the phone. And so this is actually super top of mind for me as well, because I recently read a book called Follow Up and Close the Sale. And it talks about how most of us default to the follow up methods that feel the most comfortable to us, right? And a lot of the times, email is one of those things because most of us feel more comfortable sending an email than we do picking up the phone and calling these individuals. On top of that, they also found that of all of the leads that were submitted, so what they did is they basically, let me just back up a little bit here. They used these fictitious leads and they went and filled out web forms all over the internet for thousands of companies in order to assess the response time and the quality. So just to get a gauge on how companies typically handle their leads. Of all the leads that they submitted, all these fictitious names, they found that 77.17% never received a phone call. Not a single phone call, not one. Nobody, 77.17% of these thousands of leads didn't even get a singular phone call. So they submitted their information saying, I'm interested. I want this. I want what you have. And nobody was even willing to pick up the phone and call them, or at least 77.1% of people weren't. And then only 28.6% of the leads were first responded to by phone, even though calls have a higher response rate and are more likely to turn into a sale. So, I mean, the data is right there in front of you. Calls are the way that you get in contact with your leads, but only 28.6% of leads were first responded to by phone, even though that is the most effective method. It's pretty shocking, right? Not only that, but they found that in the immediacy of response, so in other words, how quickly are people actually getting reached out to, the average phone response time was 44 hours, nearly 2 days. Most businesses take nearly 2 full days to reach out to their leads, when the average optimal phone response time is 5 minutes. So if somebody submits a phone thing, or they submit a submission thing on your website or on your ads or whatever, they're interested in your treatments as a med spa, and it takes even more than even 10 minutes, already you're losing these people. And there's some more shocking stats that come later, but most of these businesses are taking up to 44 hours, almost 2 days, to reach back out to these individuals that are showing interest. They're putting their hand up and saying, I'm interested in this. And we can't even get in touch with those people. And then we deem the leads as low quality, which is the funny part about all of it. On top of that, 28.4% of first email responses were auto responses, often with no call to action. So these emails that you are sending to people, like I mentioned before, that email was the most common method. The emails that you do send, 28.4% of them was just like an auto response email that was just like, thank you for your information. We'll get in touch with you shortly. Wow. And if you want to be the luxury med spa in your area, this probably isn't the way that you should be treating people when they first interact with your business, huh? Persistency and response. Okay. So how persistent were these businesses in actually reaching out to these leads? The average touch point was 4.5 touches, and the average or the recommended persistency is 12. So nearly a third of what people are supposed to be doing is what they were doing. And only 9.4% of leads received the recommended 12 touches. 9.4%. On top of that, phone response, 50% of leads were not responded to at all. 50%. 50% of leads weren't responded to at all. Isn't that shocking? Like, isn't that just jarring? You have somebody putting their hand up and saying they're interested in your treatment. This is a potential opportunity for you to grow your business and also help somebody in your local area. And 50% of them, we're just not even getting in contact with them. It's crazy, right? Now, let's talk about what you should do. What is the best practices based on this study? Again, these are just this is just data. You don't have to like the data. That's the beautiful thing about data, is that you don't have to like it. It is just factual. Contacts made from first dials. So they found that the best time to respond to leads is within 5 minutes, and there is a 10x decrease after 5 minutes. So even if you wait just 10 minutes to call a lead, you have a 10 times less likelihood of actually getting in touch with this person. That is insane to me. If you wait 5 extra minutes, the likelihood drops by 10 times. And wait for it. On top of that, response time, it shows that there is a 900% increase in contact rates when we contact people within 5 minutes as compared to 10 minutes. There's a 900% increase. Okay. And now you can probably start to see why it drives me crazy when medical spas are like, oh, well, we tried running ads before and all of the leads were low quality. And it's like, oh, how often or how quickly were you getting in touch with your leads? And then they're like, oh, well, we kind of just gave that to our front desk person. They're super busy. Like, they have people coming in all the time. And like, they get to it when they can. It's like, get to it when they can. Look at this. 900% increase within 5 minutes. And we're just getting to these leads when we can. Maybe your front desk person, if they have all these other responsibilities, maybe they're not the best person to be doing these calls. Just throwing that out there, right? It's just a possibility. Next one here is persistence. So the chance of actually making a contact. They showed in this study that it took up to 6 calls to get in contact with people. Over 30% of leads are never contacted at all. By just making a few more call attempts, reps will experience 70% more contacts. So always make at least 6 call attempts. Okay, that is the name of the game here. The average call attempts was, people, it looks like this is what the graph should look like, and this is what it typically does look like instead. So most people call one time, and then they call twice, and then they give up. And then you can see there's a pretty drastic drop off after that. Pretty crazy, right? Now, I also wanted to throw this one in here as well. The best times to make contact. They found that the best times to make contact in general was between 4 and 5 p.m. And then the second best time was around 8 a.m. Now we can guess why this is all we want, but 4 and 5 p.m. people are wrapping up work. They're mentally checked out. They're more likely to be available for a phone call. And then my guess is probably the same thing for 8 a.m. Like, people are getting ready for work, or they're on their commute on their way to work, and they're more available for a call before they actually hop into the workday. Or if someone's like, sending their kids off to school or whatever, 8 a.m. might be a good time because the kids are at school, you're back at home, whatever it might be. Again, the qualifying rates, if you call people at like 1 or 2 p.m. in the afternoon, there's 164% difference if you call people between 4 and 5 as compared to between 1 and 2 p.m. Okay. So the bottom line here is that if we can contact our leads quickly, right? So within 5 minutes of them submitting their information, if we can contact them enough, so making at least 6 phone call attempts, and if we can try to contact them at the times that would be best for them, which on average is going to be between 4 and 5 p.m. or between like 8 and 8:30 or 8 and 9 p.m. or 8 and 9 a.m. rather, then all of a sudden we can get in touch with like a gazillion more people, right? And now all of a sudden these leads that you would have otherwise deemed as low quality, all of a sudden it's like, oh, this person wasn't a low quality lead. I just wasn't contacting them in time, right? And so it's these small, tiny little tweaks that we can make that all of a sudden, overnight, you could start to have a gazillion more bookings. Like, let's say right now you're running ads and you currently get, let's just call it 5 leads per day. So every single day, 5 people submit their name, email, and phone number on your ad. If you go from contacting people within 10 minutes to contacting people within 5 minutes, all of a sudden you have a 900% increase in contact rates. And now all of a sudden those 5 leads are going to have a much higher likelihood of picking up the phone. And if people do pick up the phone, they have a much higher likelihood of booking in an appointment. you can try to book in appointments over text all you want. And I see all these other people all the time saying like, oh yeah, like we try to get them to book in over text, or like we try to, email them first. The phone is the ultimate way to book in appointments. There's nothing like having another human on the other side of that phone who can have that conversation with you, answer your questions in real time, and then help you get booked in with a deposit or not. People are also much more likely to actually trust you if you're trying to take a deposit or something like that, if you're talking to them over the phone, rather than just trying to like send them a secure link over text or anything like that. And so, legitimately, you can have a 2 to 10x increase in your bookings overnight just by implementing this stuff that I talked about, just by calling your leads within 5 minutes, just by actually making the six phone call attempts, and just by calling people at the right times of day where they're going to be most likely to pick up in the first place. Now, of course, if somebody submits their information at 1 p.m., just because that isn't the optimal time, you should still be calling them by 1:05 p.m. Because if somebody submits their information, the likelihood that they're still on their phone is the highest, and also their interest and their excitement about the thing they just submitted their information for is also at its peak. Their interest goes down over time, and so you want to get people while they're interested. Now, the cool thing is that if you're hearing this and you're like, there's no shot that we could possibly call our leads within 5 minutes. There's no shot that we could make 6 call attempts. There's no chance that we could build this into our workflow right now in order to get in contact with our leads ourselves. Then what's cool about that is that we could actually help you with that. And so if you want to outsource all of this and you don't want to have to worry about it, and you can start to have these increases, these 2 to 10x increases in your MetsPass bookings overnight, we call your leads for you. And so if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, and on top of that, we only get paid when someone actually shows up for their appointment. And on top of that, we guarantee at least 10 new patients every single month within 8 weeks of working with us. And if we don't hit that mark, then we continue to work with you for free. Then go ahead and hit the link in the description. That'll be my website. You can watch the video on that page. And then there's a button below that for you to book a call directly with our team to see if this is a good fit. And we do turn people down if it's not. So if that sounds interesting, feel free to go ahead. If not, then have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.